Okay, all right. Hello, hello, everybody. Wow, our first listener is in the room, Sammy. Hello, Sammy. And everybody's starting to file in. Hi, thanks for coming. Um, Guys, I am super, super excited about today's audio room because I have some really amazing guests known as Nappytabs. It's Napoleon and Tabitha, who are just the leading choreographers in the business. I love them to pieces. And I actually have had the wonderful opportunity to get to work with them on a few occasions, but I'm super excited to have them today. So while we wait for them to come in the room, I hope you guys are all having lovely holidays wherever you're at. I can't believe that we're already at Christmas. Oh, there's Tabitha. How you
Hi.
doing?
Hello.
Yay, it's so good to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, the honor's all ours. We adore you.
Oh my gosh, it's been, I feel like whenever I see your guys' name pop up anywhere, or I see you guys doing cool projects, have this sense of like that we're like best friends, even though we're not best friends. But we've worked together a couple times, and I just have such a sense of like pride and joy whenever I see you guys just killing it and succeeding. So,
oh my gosh, we kind of feel the same way too. I mean, I think every time I see you, I think about us in our little office out in NoHo when we met each other for the first time, and
yes.
like that always flashes to my head.
I love that memory. And I was actually wondering, I was like, I wonder if they'll remember that time when I came into their office and like kind of pitched my show. And you guys were so sweet and so helpful at that time. So I will always look back on that with like, I immediately was like, oh my gosh, these are good people. They're so kind. But let's see, we got to get Napoleon in here. I see him. Can I like add him as a speaker if I click on his name?
I don't know.
Floating around down there. Invite to speak. I think that's, I just invited someone to speak. I hope that was the right Napoleon.
I hope it's Napoleon. If not, you're live. And what do you have to say?
You might be here with us. Let me chime into our Google Meet real quick to make sure I don't need to do something separate to get him in here. But also, while we're waiting, thank you so much for everybody who is here to chat with us today. Let's see. Well, I seem to have lost the Google Meet connection, so I guess you and I will just kick it off, and hopefully he'll join us really soon.
Yes.
But anyhow, yeah, I was giggling as I was thinking about that memory earlier, though, because I don't know if you remember, but I brought in my laptop with like a whole presentation for you guys to show you, because I remember I really wanted you to choreograph my show. You guys were like the dream team, and you still are. And you guys were so sweet. After I gave you this whole presentation of my show, you guys were like, we are so overbooked and we wouldn't do this justice right now. And you actually introduced me to Kyle Hanagami, which was
yes.
amazing.
Yes, I remember your full presentation. I remember I was like, this girl has got it going on. I mean, she's coming with ideas. She knows her set list. She's figured out like creative ideas for different numbers. I mean, it would have been a dream if we were just open enough. Like we would have said yes in a heartbeat because you sounded like such an amazing collaborator. It was sad we had to pass it to Kyle.
Well, and I remember I felt that from you guys. I remember you guys were so complimentary and kind, and you were like, well, dang. And I think you had like 3 Vegas shows you were working on. Napoleon made it.
Hi.
Yay. So glad to have you with us. We're just reminiscing about old times, and all that fun stuff.
Yes.
But I actually am curious. I wanted to dive in with your guys' story. And you guys met in college, right?
Yes.
I love that. And you guys were both studying something different than dance. So I am curious, how did the shift happen from being in college, studying other things, and kind of having different plans possibly? And then when did the shift happen that was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to pursue our dream and be choreographers?
Well, I don't think we never like planned for it to happen, to be honest. I was a molecular biology pre-med major.
Wow.
Tabitha was doing PR and advertising for some of the casinos in Las Vegas and a production major. But it never planned that way. We just danced like for fun, and we started a little crew, and we started a company. And then at the time, Vegas was blowing up for, you know, all of the big conventions coming here. And people started asking more and more about it, and more and more. And before you know it, we're choreographing for big companies and for clothing companies and record companies and even tractor companies and ambulance companies. So it was just, which was cool for us because it gave us a start in a different world. And one day we met somebody from LA who was doing a lot of work, a choreographer, Rosero and Jamal, and they said, "Yo, you moved to Los Angeles, you do a lot of work." And Tab went down there and auditioned for Janet Jackson, and that's what made it down to the last bit. So that's what gave us the idea, hey, we might be able to make it in LA. Let's go. And we just packed up and moved.
Oh my gosh. Was that scary to just like make that jump, or did you guys feel super prepared for it when it was time?
Oh, I mean, well, you can never be prepared for this business, as you know. It's like, you know, you think you're prepared, and then you get here and you're like, oh, there's no school for what we do, really. There's, you know, you kind of just get in it, especially like working in the industry or being on television shows. Like, your college is getting in and figuring it out and being quick.
Absolutely. Being adjustable and
malleable. But I think that we were prepared in the sense of, you know, we were creative directors and artistic directors for the dance company we were running in Las Vegas. And a lot of the people in our company were like, we're going to LA, and they all left. And we were like, well, let's save up enough money that we can go and like support ourselves for a year. And then maybe we, you know, try to quit our day jobs here in Vegas and see, like, could we really support ourselves? Like, just dancing and choreographing? You know what I mean? Like, is that where we like living some, you know, like dream? We love to do it, but come on, is that a reality? You know, and this is in the early 90s. And then we started making more money just freelancing and choreographing. Then we sort of got a little confidence and said, okay, well, let's go to LA for a year before you go to med school, fulfill our dream, you know, of just trying and being out there, and we'll see where it takes us. And 25 years, 30 years later, we're still here.
That's incredible. And, you know, I think one of the things I love so much about that is that, I mean, I think to be an artist and to hustle and to do the kind of things we do in this industry, you have to love it so much that you would do it regardless. Yep. And I love that that's how your career started, is you were doing it for fun. You were studying something else, but because you loved it, you started a dance company and a crew. And, you know, and then that is what kind of turned it into your career, was the fact that it wasn't about like, I want to be a star, or I want to be famous, or I want to make money doing this. It was like, no, this is truly our passion. And it's funny, that's kind of very similar. I studied something completely different in college. I was going to be a therapeutic recreation specialist, and, you know, working at youth treatment centers. But at the same time, I was playing with bands any chance I got, and I was writing music on the side. And, you know, kind of very similar kind of a story of like, oh, I don't think I could ever make money being like a, you know, a dancing violinist. But suddenly, because I did it so much and loved it so much, it kind of became the like, well, actually, I'm making more money this way than my day job.
Yeah.
But still, you're right.
You hit it right on the nose. To me, it's about the love, and I think that's what we tell the majority of dancers, performers, actors. You do it because you love it. If it's about the money, it never works out. If it's about the love of the art, well, then you'll just keep doing it. You'll work
find ways.
Day job. Yeah, we were working in Vegas, when not just going to school, but at the same time we'd go to school half the day, then we would work half the day. We didn't dance till 11 or 12 at night. We had a whole bunch of people that were similar, and we all just loved it so much. We would rehearse till 3 a.m, wake back up at 7 and start our days again. But we just wanted to do it so much. And even the teaching and choreographing, we choreographed multiple things, which my agent would probably kill me about now, but we choreographed, I would say, 40% of the gigs we did. We just did it for free because we were excited. Yo, Nike wants us to choreograph something. Let's do it.
Yeah.
or even teaching, like we taught. And what did we used to get back then, Tab? Like $12 a class, and there was 120 people in our class.
Oh my
$12
gosh.
split between us and taxes taken out. And we were like, I don't care. Did you see 100 people showed up for our class? That's awesome.
Yes. No, for sure. In the beginning, it's just like, oh my gosh, I got to play a gig. Like,
Yeah.
and people were there. It was all about just like, wow, someone cared, and they
Yeah.
showed up, and that's so exciting when you're first starting.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. That's what keeps you the fuel in your tank. You go
Absolutely.
home and that energy lasts for another few weeks.
I mean, we still go and do that. Let's be honest. We're to, a lot of people talk about it in the industry all the time, that we're the people, we don't say no to many things if we can't, if it's physically impossible, yes, but we still go back to our alumni at UNLV and do dance things. We still go to the dance department there, even though we weren't a part of the dance department. It's still our alumni. We still
Yeah.
choreograph for the dance team over there and won multiple national championships. We'll still go to our old studios and teach and do things. And, it's part of, to me, it's part of the giving back. And it's also part of why you fell in love with it in the first place. And, even though we're not choreographing as much and we're directing and producing more, it's still nice to go back and see those old faces and remember how you got, to the place you got.
Absolutely. And, I think that goes so far and beyond what you guys maybe even realize it does, because you guys have such an amazing reputation in this industry. Anybody I know that has ever worked with you, like, your name comes up and people smile, and you guys really are mentor type choreographers and creative directors. Like, you make people feel empowered and strong and good. And like, even my dancers, we're on tour right now, and I mentioned to them yesterday that I was going to be doing this room, and they all got excited. All their faces lit up, and they're like, "Oh, they're so amazing!" So you guys just have such a great reputation because of probably all the giving back you do and the kind of care you put into, like, all the people, not only the projects but the people you work with. And so that's great. I love hearing that.
Oh, speaking of your dancers, you guys been smashing some Instagram and reel stuff.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, they are so kind to put up with my, like, ideas all the time. I'm like, guys, you guys down to film a TikTok, late at night after the show? And they're always like, sure. So yeah, bless their hearts for putting up with my, kind of like you're saying, that brain that never quite stops and fills in the gaps wherever there's a break, and it's just like, I have an idea.
Yes, great. I love them. I live for those. You guys are great.
Thank you so much. Going back to, like, we were talking about some of those early gigs, I'm so curious. You mentioned things like, I forget, like a tractor company or a, ambulance commercial, but what were some of those early gigs like? Because at the beginning, I don't know, as a performer and an entertainer, you do some of the weirdest stuff sometimes that you look back and just giggle at. You're like, wow, I can't believe I did that whole thing, and all of that weird project for like $200, that took me like, travel and all of this. Like, it's kind of funny. So what were some of those early gigs like, or were there any kind of weird, crazy ones that you laugh at?
I think the ambulance one, right, Tab? We
yeah.
did this. We made this whole song up that sounded like one of the songs we loved, but we put the they were called med trans, and there was this song back then, "Let's Dance," dun, 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 "Let's Dance," and we changed it to med trans.
Amazing.
And these are like these guys that come to a big convention in Las Vegas, and they're either wanting to see somebody flying through the air like Cirque du Soleil, or people, it's Vegas, so half naked at a tractor convention, showgirls or something.
Right.
And then here comes us, these hip hop dancers in baggy clothes with our own track to med trans. So, I think that's why we got so into storytelling, was we had to find a way to get all of these different people that weren't dancers to like what we were doing.
Yes. Oh, I think that's one of the most underrated parts of being an entertainer is storytelling. It's something that a lot of times people don't think about, or, when they look at a performer or a choreographer, or a lot of times they're not thinking in terms of, oh, somehow they created a story, with some sort of, either it's an emotional beginning, middle, or end, or a, like, actual story. But anyways, I think that's what makes the best creatives, is people that can capture and tell stories. So I love that you said that, because I've always felt that way.
Yeah, I think that that motivates us before we make our first move. It's like, why are we doing this? Like, what are we trying to say? Like, what's our emotion, and what is, you know, and maybe sometimes you know, it's not that the people watching don't get the full story, but we have our own to give us our own guidelines of like why, you know, we're motivated to do X, Y, and Z, because it just needs to, it needs to have purpose, or other, it feels empty and you don't know why when you watch something.
Yeah.
Like, why does it feel empty? And it's really a lack of purpose from the creator, from the inside out.
Absolutely. And I think a perfect example of that is like Cirque du Soleil. They always have a very specific story that they are telling, but anybody in the audience that doesn't know the story would usually never catch on to what the story is, but everything's motivated. Everything has a purpose and a reason. And you feel that as an audience member. And am I correct in saying you guys have worked with Cirque du Soleil, right?
Yes.
We have. We've been lucky enough to do like multiple shows with them. Really amazing.
Which ones did you do?
We were involved with Elvis first, and then the redo of Love. We did a bunch of stuff for Love, and then we did a bunch of TV things, all of the TV performances for a long time from any of the Cirque shows in Vegas. So pretty much all of them, from Caw to Mystere. We would make their performance. So it was kind of nice. We did the MJ Immortal, Michael Jackson Immortal. Yeah, a lot of them. The Iris.
But what's interesting when you talk about story is that's kind of why they came to us. At the time we were working in TV so much, and they're like, you know, we're in our minds, we have this big canvas and we're in a theater and we have multiple things going on, but every time we do a TV performance, it's always like a hot mess, because we don't know how to consolidate what story we're trying to tell, because we have so many, or how to pick the right moments to really pack into 3.5 minutes for your show. So we really would come together and collaborate with them on how to make unique performances for them to actually promote the show and convey a good message in a short amount of time, you know, for TV.
Oh, that's so cool. And that is like the number one collaboration, I think. Cirque is so cool. And so I'm like, you can't name a name that's more cool to me personally than saying you worked with Cirque. So that's like the very top of the top in my book.
Well, in my opinion, I think you should have your own Cirque show. So let's get together and make that manifest. Come on now.
I like the way you're thinking. You know, it's funny. We just actually, because I am so obsessed with Cirque, we just added aerial acrobatics into our show, and like, you know, going up in a trapeze while playing the violin and lyra. And anyways, it's kind of addicting.
Amazing.
It's really
my God,
fun.
That's amazing. Oh, you would crush that.
So yeah, someday I'm working towards it. Baby steps, one at a time.
Okay. Well, you let us know.
I'll call you when I'm ready.
You holler. We are ready.
You got it. You know, so I have to say, the first time I heard of you guys was, I think, when most of America heard of you guys, which was America's Best Dance Crew, and then also So You Think You Can Dance. And you guys were just the coolest choreographers on those shows. And I just feel like suddenly you guys became like the go-to choreographers. Like, it felt like overnight. It was like, they're the people. But I'm sure that big break, there was so much leading up to it. And nobody, as we know, is ever an overnight success. So like, what was it that took you guys to that show? Or like, how did you get there?
Well, who wants to go? You want to start, sweetie?
No, go ahead, honey.
Well, I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. Nothing is an overnight success. And ironically, you know, we made that move to California, like we had said, out of college. And we were teaching at the Edge, teaching a Millennium, teaching anywhere and everywhere we could, trying to book, you know, choreography jobs with our agents. Nothing ever landed for us. Like, we would get the job that was the actor that couldn't move in a scene, and we, you know, gave him kickball changes, and we're like, okay, great, sure, we got a job, but like nothing that we could ever show our full potential on, you know. And
we were always showing pieces that they let us choreograph on a tour we were on, like being on Destiny's Child tour or other tours. We would have like a dance break. They're like, yeah, the girls aren't out here, or Beyonce's not on right here. You guys do a little dance break. And that was our only little bit of footage we had.
Yeah.
And it's funny, this is before social media, before everybody making their own like viral videos but like we literally like, well, if we don't have footage, we have to shoot our own stuff and like take it to an editor. And we like went on location and we asked all our friends from our class. We're like, we just have to have like footage of like what we're capable of, because like the little jobs that we get aren't, you know. Anyway, long story, I think we were at a point where we were going, okay, maybe we aren't going to be able to do this for the rest of our lives, or get to a level where, you know, of success that we were hoping for. What else interests us? And we started our clothing line. We're like, dance, clothing, fashion. So we started our clothing line, and ironically, as that was happening, all these doors started to open up. We got our opportunity to be on America's Best Dance Crew, and then the world just sort of all things aligned. But I do have to say we were ready for it, because we were for 10 years grinding and teaching and creating and doing carnivals or whatever it took. We were doing it. You don't see that and you don't think about it at the time. But if I had those opportunities to be in that position 5 or 6 years prior, I don't know if I would have made the same choices. I don't know if I would have been as smart or as prepared. So I'm kind of happy everything happened and took its time. And I tell that to kids a lot nowadays too. It's like, don't rush. You don't have to get there instantly, because everything you're learning along the way is actually going to make you better when that time arrives. You can't make that first impression again if you fail. You know, make sure you're ready.
I think two big parts that added to it, Tab, because I'm remembering now those conversations. The one for America's Best Dance Crew was Howard and Karen Schwartz, who own HipHop World Championships, and we were fairly big in the dance crew world. You know, we were big advocates of the Jabberwockies before they were actually the Jabberwockies. Their first performance in LA was with a performance that we did. We pushed them along to do a bunch of things. So people already knew us. We were teaching a lot. People already knew us in the area, in that arena, that hip hop world championships, crew mentality. So that's how that came about with that show. And then with So You Think You Dance, which came shortly after, was we were creating, we were directing these shows in LA called the Monsters of Hip Hop show, where we took people around the country, the best, you know, hip hop young kid talent, and showed them off to producers and agents in LA. And that show got a big name for the small little production we did with it. It was, you know,
and Nigel came, didn't he?
Yeah, and Nigel came to watch it. He came to watch the show, and then that's where, after that, we met him, and that was a big to do. That, and a lot of the kids on the show kept saying, "Hey, have you heard of Nappytabs? They're like a duet, and this is about duets. You should be having them." And everything we did, there was always some sort of duet that me and Tabitha would always do.
So it kind of felt perfect, you know.
It was a kind of a perfect match for that show. So, just grateful that both of those came around at the time they did.
Yeah, I love hearing people's like the full story like that, because it's like, oh wow, there was 10 years from when you took that jump and moved to LA till the big break. And it's like, that's almost always the story. Like, it's never like we jumped and then we landed perfectly. Like, it's full of all these little trips and figuring things out. And I just love how you also shared that you're grateful for like those learning experiences and for the time, so that when the big opportunities came, you had the knowledge and you were ready for it. Like, that's so important for anyone to realize, like, while they're in the training room. That's important. It's a good place to be.
You know what taught us the most, that I think, for me at least, Tab, I don't know for you, but all of those movement for actors and choreography for, I mean, people prior to that, you had done Celine Dion, who doesn't really dance much. You know, those kind of things where you didn't have dancing artists, you didn't have a Justin Timberlake, we didn't have a lot of those. Everybody that we got couldn't dance, and I think that taught us a lot about what people like to look at. I think that, and then all those big conventions in Vegas and trying to impress people who were normal people, not dancers,
and not in your demo.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of creative people in the dance industry, and I mean, everybody can go and teach a class to a bunch of professionals and it looks amazing, but it's about making somebody who can't dance look good. That is the
Yeah.
biggest key to our success, if you ask me. Whether it be a dance crew on America's Best Dance Crew who actually wasn't that good but had a great story,
Yeah.
or two contestants on So You Think You Can Dance who really, you know, one's a West Coast ballroom dancer and the other one's a ballerina, and you're like, what am I going to do with these guys? But you know, it's part of that story building and how you build around it to make people think that what they're doing is really amazing.
Absolutely. And, you know, coming from the artist perspective, you know, I definitely didn't know how to dance when I first went out and decided I was going to be a dancing violinist, which is just hilarious in itself. But the great choreographers are the ones that can look at you and exactly what you're saying. Say, okay, well, she has a nice point on her toe. Okay, her feet look nice. All right, let's see. Let's work with that. Okay. You know, she spins to the left. Perfect. We'll figure out how to, you know, like people that can dissect an artist and say, how do we make you look great with the tools you have, is what makes all the difference for artists. So you're right. That's like the best skill you can have as a working, because you guys now, you started more working with dancers, but now would you say you work more with artists than dancers?
Probably.
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, choreographically, we don't do quite as much as we used to, but I will say the part of the team of choreographers that we have on our team, we look for the same qualities in them. Can you build a performance around somebody who's not acting like a dancer? They're actually, you know, they're doing something else. I mean, we made Ed Sheeran dance, who could not dance a lick. Do you remember that, Tab?
Yes.
That was awesome, right?
And he looked good. You guys pulled a Dancing with the Stars, and I'm sure you did it in a matter of, like, you probably had him for a couple hours, I'm guessing, or a day.
Yeah, no,
well,
a little longer. We sent Brittany and Paul on tour with him, but you know, they would have a half hour here, half hour there,
right,
when he could dance. But when we came and met him, his manager said, "Yo, Ed cannot dance. I don't know why he wants to do this, but this is not a good idea." So we gave him a few things to do, just like you said, and I was like, "Well, he's really strong. He's freakishly strong. So we'll just do a ton of lifts."
Right. Yes.
But we did say to Ed at the time, we're like, listen, in all honesty, it comes down to how bad you want this, because it could be really great if you commit, but you can't dip the toe in the water, man. You got to really fully commit. Like, if you're going to go there, then, you know, we created the template with Brittany and Paul, and I was like, I know you're on tour and I know you don't have rehearsal time, but you need like at least 30 minutes a day of just like reviewing this stuff and drilling it, or you'll never, because at first he wanted to do a one taker. He's like, I want to go from top to bottom. I was like, you don't understand what that means. Yeah. Like, you really do not understand what you're asking for.
And meanwhile, he had never even been in his video beside a cameo. All his music videos were with other people. You know,
really?
he did that one with Philip Shabib before it, which was followed almost a one take of Philip, you know, the whole time, but it was never Ed. So this is his first time being in one of his videos, and he wanted to do a one take. Tab was like, "What?"
Gosh.
I was like, "Oh
one
my God, Lord,
so
help us, Jesus." He could have literally, by the end, he could have almost done it from top to bottom, honestly. Like, I was so proud of the work he put into that, and deserved, I mean, every bit of that, the success from that music video. It was really special, because like you said, it was like his coming out.
Yeah. Well, and it was so good. I remember being very impressed with it. And, you know, and I guess, so that leads me to another question I've had for you guys. So you started with such a specific style in hip hop, and I feel like that's what you know, were so known as when you first started doing stuff, America's Best Dance Crew, and you were the hip hop duo for So You Think. But now you have worked with every type of artist, even going all the way to ballroom, which is like the very far other end of the spectrum. And so how did you guys diversify and keep yourselves from getting pigeonholed into, like, this is what they do and this is what they're known for? Like,
we feel for a long time we felt completely pigeonholed, totally, because our success from the show was, okay, these are the hip hop choreographers. So anything else that would come to the agent, we're like, oh, we could do that, and they're like, yeah, no, that's going to go to them. And we're like, yeah, but they don't know we can.
Yeah. Totally.
I think
It really was happened over time on So You
yeah.
Think. Prior to So You Think, Tabitha danced in everything. She did everything. It's just we got known as the hip hop people, and that was the
Right.
Our main
we
focus.
were on tours with R&B artists and hip hop artists. So everyone kind of knew, oh, they're in the hip hop world. We had a hip hop dance crew, but the roots before that were not hip hop. For me, it was. For me as a b-boy and a popper, but for Tabitha, she had done everything. So we started to slowly. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't start taking hip hop till I was in college. So like growing
wow.
up, I mean, what am I, 48 now? Oh my gosh. But when I started taking dance classes as a little girl, there was no hip hop in the dance studios. I took tap, ballet, musical theater, jazz, like I didn't start doing hip hop until I was in college because you couldn't get that. And that's what's kind of, I love about also our age and our journey. Like I've watched the evolution of a dance style become mainstream right before my eyes. Like it wasn't there as I was a child, and then seeing it, witnessing it, being inspired by it. I think once I got into college and I was like, well, this is awesome. Oh my God, I love hip hop. And seeing how now it is for us, it was a mission of ours to show an artistic side to hip hop when we were on So You Think You Can Dance, because we're like, everybody thinks of it as like backup dancing, high energy, booty shaking, what I mean, or crew based, but you can use the same vocabulary of movement in such a beautiful way if you just put it to a different song, or you figure out a narrative and you can kind of feel something that you wouldn't typically think you could feel. And hence why, they said we sort of put lyrical hip hop on the map.
But I think the transition really came during So You Think You Can Dance, where you get so many contemporary dancers, and we just started to change our style a little bit from the rawness of like the ABDC type hip hop to what would a contemporary dancer look like doing this. And especially in our group numbers, on the duets, we couldn't do it as much because that was their challenge, was to do hip hop. But on all of our group numbers that we started to get known for, it was a fusion of different styles and different things that we loved, and some sort of core of high energy, but with no specific style. Just what does my body want to say during this movement? And I think that's where people started, because that's where Cirque first picked us up. Remember, Tab, was after we did something. They said, oh, you did this group number on So You Think that we saw, and we think it would be good for our dancers. You move in the way that we like to see it move. So it was kind of saying, hey, here's a fusion of different things with just a great story, with no title to the style. And I think that's what started to do it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And I love that, Tabitha, you were saying, what it sounded like to me is sometimes you have to like almost train the audience a little bit as you adapt styles. You were trying to train an audience of dance that hip hop can be more than one thing. It can expand into other things, and almost like teaching people and doing it by little degrees, or the same way I was like, the violin can be more than just a classical instrument, but you have to like kind of train an audience to like come with you into this space. And then
I know,
Napoleon, oh, sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say, and I mean, at first it was not well received. I mean, when blogs would come up, they'd be like, what is this? What are they doing? Da, 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 and we were like, let's just stay the course though. Cause it's who we are and it's what we want to do. And I'm happy that we didn't kind of fall victim to like the pressures of like, being popular at first.
Right. Because a lot of times there's a lot of purist ideals in art, and and I understand where they come from, people trying to protect what they see the art to be, but it's kind of, it takes time to like get people to get used to like, all right, well, no, it can be something else. Like we don't have to put a box around everything, and it can exist in other places. And Napoleon, I like that you were just kind of sharing that you kind of had to prove your guys' concept, because I feel like one thing I've learned in the industry is that oftentimes we feel that if you've earned your spot in one way, that it should obviously manifest that, oh, I can also do other things. Or, you know, even switching apps. If you're big on YouTube, it doesn't mean that you have respect on TikTok. You have to prove that you can do it there too, and you have to grow that audience specially. Or
Yeah.
you want to switch mediums of dance, like say, hey, we can do more than just hip hop. It's, you kind of have to overprove yourself every time you step into like a slightly new lane. And so I think that's really so smart of you guys, that you took the lanes you were given and you expanded them as much as you could to showcase what you wanted to showcase.
Yeah, it's been a nice journey, but I will say it's not always on purpose, right? You just
Yeah.
somebody calls and you're like, yeah, we can do that, I think. This fusion thing, and you try it out, and you just love the art so much that you're like, yeah, let's try it, let's have some fun. And we could have epically failed at something and went in a total different direction. So you know, there's a lot of luck in this industry as well. Like I said, there's so many talented people in our industry, and
Yes.
and we've had a little bit of luck along the way, so that's always nice.
Absolutely. Like, making it in this business doesn't come without luck. Like, everybody has to have their lucky moments, but it's like, are you patient enough and perseverant enough to wait out until that luck finally strikes you? And are you patient enough to wait in between the lucky breaks, you know? So, but you're right. It's definitely talent, perseverance, and luck. It's all of it.
Yeah, that's the perfect word for it. Patience and being ready for the next step. Are you patient enough to wait for it? Are you patient enough to take a bunch of the no's? And then are you, when it is the next chance, did you learn enough about it to improve and be better?
Absolutely. Yeah. Learning from the failures and saying, all right, next time I'm going to be ready. We can do it
Exactly.
next time. So you guys have had such a longevity. Like, I think you're a perfect example of what a dancer can like turn their career into. And so what do you think is the key to having such a longevity career for an artist or a dancer?
I think our longevity, I believe right now, is just the way you conduct yourself as like when you're in the workspace has really paid off for us. Every single job we get, I think now is related to, oh, I remember you from this da-da-da-da, and you were so great to work with. Or, hey, I'm calling you. Remember 6 years ago, we kind of pitched this thing and you were on 2 calls and I really liked your positivity. Like, we'll hear it all the time. Or how, you know, great you were to collaborate with. Would you want to come on board with this? I can't speak enough about how you treat people you work with, and how that it becomes like a ripple effect. Your energy and the way you are in that space is electric. It's either on or it's off. And when it's on, it just leaves a light behind that hopefully will come back, be the gift that keeps on giving. and we have definitely felt that and appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other big factor beyond that. Obviously, your work has to be enough that people love it. But like I said, a lot of talented people have great work. The other part of it is everything for us is a collaboration. It doesn't matter if it's a collaboration with the artist, their management, the record label, the executives in a TV show, the dancers, or the wardrobe or the stylist. Everything is a collaboration. And I think when you realize that it's not your way or the highway, and that everybody else also has a vision, and when you can put all of the visions together, I think that's when people remember and they're like, well, you know, they were great to work with. I don't think there's another thing better than saying they're great to work with.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know that as an artist, it's like you're up there getting ready to perform and giving all the energy to be as your very best. And the company you keep around you affects how you are a performer that night in the show or what have you. It's like, so you always, even when we cast dancers or people that are on our team, you know, it's like that. You want to surround yourself with people that have positive energy and respect and enjoy and love what they do, you know.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes when that starts to slip, that's, you know, that becomes a little toxic.
For sure. And, you know, it is so true, because people remember almost more than anything the experience. How did I feel? Like, how did I feel around those people, you know? And almost secondary is like what you actually did, but what lasts is the feeling of like how we all felt together in the projects. And you know, it is so true that a lot of times those little type things, like you said, oh, we talked on a call one time and there was 5 people on that conference call, but I remember you. And it's so funny. I literally just had a job come in to write some music for possibly a network show. And the guy that, you know, called me in to do it, he said, you came into my office, oh gosh, he's like 5 years ago, and you sat here and you told me what you did and you pitched yourself, and I didn't have a project for you then, but he's like, as soon as this came up, I immediately thought it had to be her. It had to be this girl. And it's just funny. I mean, you know, it's like these little meetings where you pitch yourself. And that was during the time when I was just trying to, you know, put myself out there, and you never know how these tiny little interactions, like where they're going to lead. And like years later, they come to fruition. It's, you know, but you're so right. It's just about like the impression and the kindness and how you make people feel.
Most of the people,
and the fun you have at your job, like, you know, everybody that we work with on our teams or we'll bring in to help us on projects, like I would hang out with them on a Friday night because they're friends, like they're fun, and we all, you know, and so I think that also helps lift you up when you're, I mean, let's be honest, our business sometimes can be really stressful, and you want to have, you know, a good support system around you, and you look to them and you're like, whew, okay, we're in the trenches, but let's go.
Yes, right. You know, I know someone who's brought you back multiple times, and this is like, I know we have a lot of mutual friends in this biz, but we both share Derek Huff as a close mutual friend, and you guys have worked with him, I feel like, for so long, like years, right?
Like over 10 years now. Yeah,
and I know that like you guys are his people. He won't work with anybody else creative director wise. Like, he loves you guys so much. And anyways, I love Derek with all my heart.
We adore Derek. I never, who would have known? I mean, somebody came to us with a film. Remember that, Tab? They came to us with a film, and they said, hey, we want you to watch some of the, we're still trying to figure out who the lead role is in this. But
it was a dance film.
It was a dance film. And they, you know, and it's an urban tap film, which was
like tap fusion hip hop with like a K-pop singing artist.
And I was like, okay. And they were like, so we're thinking about this guy from Dancing with the Stars, Derek Huff. I was like, what? The ballroom guy?
Ballroom?
The ballroom guy? No, man, no way. And then they said, just watch his read, okay? Just watch his read. So we watched his read, and I was like, oh man, he's really good. He's a good actor. I didn't, you know, at the time I didn't realize that he had already acted before. Yeah. And then we had the first couple little like just tests with him reading, tests with him dancing, and a few things. And we showed him a few things, and just so impressed right off the bat. Remember
like
that?
Such a like, no one works harder. No one's more of a perfectionist. Maybe you are, though. I don't know. We don't work that closely, but I feel that about you. But such an all-around showman, like true from top to bottom, singing, dancing, performing, and you know, and always a learner, which I love. You know,
Absolutely.
To this day, he's like, oh, I'm inspired by that. Let's learn that. Like, we put Moses Supposes in his last tour because he's like, I've just always loved that tap dance, and I want to learn it. I was like, okay, let's do it. You know?
Yeah, he just is one of those guys that you. I mean, what a find! And every show that we've had, we push for him to be on, whether it be hosting or judging on World of Dance. I mean, we pushed hard for him on World of Dance.
World of Dance.
He was so good on World of Dance. Were you guys executive producers on this show?
Yeah.
I can't tell you enough. I loved that show. It was.
I know. I'm so sad
fun.
It's not back.
Is it coming back?
No. Well, we have a couple new dance shows. We have a couple new dance shows, so we'll see. Right. We can't talk about them yet, but they're coming up.
Different though, totally different.
Totally different, yeah.
I'm such a fan of, I mean, from So You Think to like, I mean, all of it. I'm just such a fan of dance shows. I consider myself still quite the like novice dancer, but I just have so much respect and awe for, anyways, that's why I love those shows so much. But yes, going back to Derek, I did go to his Vegas residency, and then I also saw his show when it came through LA. I'm, you know, not only a friend, I'm like a fan. His shows are so good, and you're so right in just saying that he is a master performer. And And also the thought, like, because I like creative direct my shows and stuff, I love seeing a show that is just so well thought out, where every transition has been considered and worked through. And yeah, his show in Vegas is awesome. It's so good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
mean, listen, we, like I said, you know, we collaborate, and a lot of, you know, why we love working with him is we think we have the same mindset, you know. So when we get to work with him, it's such like a play, like it's like playing. It just doesn't feel like work.
Totally. Yeah. I remember one of the times that we worked together was actually the Disney Christmas special. Gosh, it was like 2-3 years ago, I want to say.
Yes.
But that was such a dream come true. I don't know if it was your guys' decision or not, but I think it was you guys who decided to let me perform in front of the castle. And I can't tell you, I've never felt so magical in my whole life.
It was so good. It was one of my favorites of the entire episode, to be honest.
Oh, really? Oh, we had so much fun. I don't know if you remember. I mean, I think one of the things that people don't always think about when they watch these kind of live performances or these big specials is that there's always, you know, like it comes out great in the final product, but there's always little hiccups that you
like the slippery floor.
The slippery floor. Oh my gosh. It was beautiful and shiny and reflective, but it was like ice up there.
and it doesn't matter. We've done that show now for the last 6 years, right, Tab?
Yeah.
And we can never get away from the slippery floor. In fact, this year Tabitha was like pushing really hard to have these roller skaters, and I was like, don't you remember every year? What are you thinking, honey?
I was like, I know, but it's disco and we need roller skaters. And then I was like, okay, yes, I'm sabotaging myself with the roller skaters and the slick floor.
Oh my gosh. I know how it is though, when you get an idea that you're just like, but just imagine it, just can you see it? And it's like, oh, the logistics finally, you're like, okay, I get it. But yeah,
I mean, it's been every year, that show, since we've been on it. There's been like, looks like we're gonna have a great floor, and we test the floor, and then something happens as soon as we start.
It's the condensation. It's the condensation in the air and the humidity. Like we wiped this year, because I just did it like a couple weeks ago, and we would wipe it down, and as soon as we would wipe down a section and we would move on to the next section, condensation, it was like water droplets just would appear before our eyes. I was like, guys, like, stop wiping it down. Like, there's just really no point. You're dancing in water.
we need to have, like, next year we need to think AstroTurf.
Oh yes. All green.
Right. What's the stickiest, worst substance ever? That's perfect.
Or we dance with like mops on our feet.
Yeah, there's ways to get around that. But it was so funny. I remember the director that was filming it, he told us, he's like, if anyone falls, we're shutting this down. So, because he didn't want anyone to get injured, which was very sweet of him. But I remember we were all just clenching our butt cheeks so hard trying not to fall.
That's the hardest, right? And then trying to look like you're performing, and then you're like, oh no close-ups. I remember saying something about the close-ups when we were doing that, about, you know, not everybody's looking so comfortable. Let's try to avoid any close-ups.
When you have that I'm constipated face, because I'm clenching my bottom butt cheeks.
Because I'm literally clenching right now, everything in my body. But I remember we were really nervous because it aired a few days later, I think on Thanksgiving Day, and we were on tour at that point, and me and my dancers were all together, and our whole crew gathered around the TV to watch it when it aired, praying that we didn't look ridiculous. And we're like, wow, it actually looks great. Like,
TV magic. Yeah, TV magic.
Yeah, always. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? What is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, good question. I think everything is different, and we're so blessed that like we do work in so many different mediums. So, you know, sometimes like right now we're working and writing a show that's going to come out in Nashville, and it's sort of like a mini Spiegel World kind of version of, you know, whatever we want it to be. And so for us right now, it's that there are no limitations, you know, and we're just creating. Sometimes though, like it's the end product of like, you know, seeing something, if you're experimenting with lighting or new technology and you're like, you have all this ideas in your head and you're like, can I pull it off? It's like the success of pulling that moment off.
Yes.
You know, or not pulling it off, but trying, you know.
I think for a while, for me, it was the creative portion of it, the pre-creative portion of it.
Before
but,
budgeting comes into factor.
Yes.
Yeah.
The brainstorming.
The brainstorming is great. Then the budget comes into factor, and logistics and all the other things that happen, and then you kind of end up with some sort of world that's not really what you originally thought. So it's not as much to me anymore. I think Tab still loves that creative process. But lately for me, I recently, you know, I'm in the Directors Guild now. And for me, it's the calling of cameras. It's directing. It's a multi-camera directing feel for me. There's nothing like it, calling a show and that energy and that excitement that happens while you're in the middle of a show.
That's so cool, because I bet that, I mean, maybe you always planned on doing that, but I bet that when you first started choreographing, you had no idea that you would be someday in the director booth, like calling shots. I bet, I don't know, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've always kind of been, Tabitha's more detail oriented, and I was always a little more big picture, and always, you know, once we started TV and I learned within the first, I would say 2 or 3 years, I started to see things differently, and how you can force people to watch exactly what you want, where when you're on a stage, you're in different seats, you're seeing a different view of the show for every individual. Where on camera, you can say, this is exactly what I want you to see in this exact moment, which is kind of a special thing. So it's always intrigued me. Multi-camera directing has always intrigued me, and I've always been in love with it, and always found myself faux directing, I'll call it, calling everything as I see it. And then now, you know, when I've grown and finally gotten my chance, and it's been a really nice thing, a nice change.
Absolutely. And, you know, I love how you're talking about it is so different when you're planning a show for an audience versus when you're planning like something to be viewed through a TV. Like
100.
And it's kind of fun because I remember during the pandemic, we decided to do a Christmas special, and I released, you know, we filmed it and released it around the holidays, since we couldn't do our Christmas tour. And at first I remember the thought was like, oh gosh, well, how you can't capture a live performance and make it feel as exciting as if you're in the audience. And then it was like, wait, actually you can.
Yeah.
You just it actually gives you a whole lot of breath to do a lot of different things that you cannot get away with in a live audience performance. And so it's fun to start to just think in different ways of like, okay, rather than see it as like the negatives, like what are the strengths and how do you lean into the strengths of both? And it takes a completely different like mindset.
Yeah.
100%.
Totally.
Very different types of performances.
Now, I have a question for you guys that I have wondered. So you guys are such an iconic working married couple. So what is the best part about that, being a married couple that works together? And then are there challenges that come along with that?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I think I 100% believe in my heart I wouldn't be where I'm at today without her.
Oh,
for sure, because she's the talent in the duo.
No, that is so not true. I take it to the finish line, but he is and neurotic about details, but he was the one that actually, and now I'm going to go back and say we wouldn't be here because of you, because he was the dreamer in the beginning when we were young and like questioned if we could do this he's like, why can't we? Let's go. And he would be brave for me, because I don't think I would have been able to be brave enough on my own, like to go, oh, can we do this? But he believed in us enough that we could. And anytime like we would get a job offer, he's like, okay, let's figure this out. And I'm like, yeah, but are we ready? Like, I don't know. Like, what would we do? Like, so your voice and your confidence by my side actually allows me to do what I do.
Yeah, but I do that. I always say, yeah, we'll take that. We can do that, because I know that you can pull it off. I already see it in you.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. I love this. I'm getting like goosebumps. so cool.
Aw.
You know,
To
and
this
I
day,
know,
she works her tail off. I'm sitting at home, eating some chocolate and having protein shakes, and probably go for a workout, pick up our son, take him to karate. Maybe we'll go mountain biking. And Tabitha is working her tail off in LA doing the voice. So she's the.
oh wow. Good on you. No, you guys are so, it's obvious to me why it works. It's because you guys both bring out the best of each other. And, you know, it's, especially hearing you talk, it's like, oh, it's because you guys both are each other's, you know, biggest fan and your biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I think it's nice at the, oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think it's just nice too, at the end of the day. Some people say, how can you do it together? And but it's like, if you love what you do so much as we do, I take it home and I'm excited to talk about it. And now I have someone that understands my day, or understands, like, I can call them and be like, oh my God, this just happened. And could you believe it? The technical director, blah, 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 blah. And like, you just can share at such a level that it's real. You know, it's nice, or you understand where, like, he might not call me for 48 hours. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're on your tech day into show day. Okay. Got you, babe. Catch me in 24. And there's never, ever drama when it comes to that relationship drama, you know, that can happen when people are in two different worlds.
Do you have any advice for couples? Because every couple has to work together in some capacity, even if they don't share a job title, they still are raising kids, or they have to have communication or compromise. Like, so what is your best advice for couples in working together?
Understand the other person. Whether we say, let's say we're working on a show this week, and my creative was to do I don't know, these big flowers, and her creative, and she says to me, yeah, but it's a guy, blah 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 blah. Instead of going, well, I don't care, I want to do this, and I take it as, ooh, she cares about me and the project so much that she's actually helping me. This is not against me. This is helping me. And I think we've always had that. Whenever the one tells the other one, hey, maybe not a good idea, it's never in like a negative way. It's always
or an
meant to be like,
egotistical, I'm better. There's never it's not a competition. It's always looking out for each other.
yeah, looking out. We're always looking out for each other. And I think when you look out for somebody and communicate what you think, then it's always a win-win.
Well, I will say communication. I know it sounds so cliche, but you kind of have to let someone know if you're not feeling right about something, you know, and whether it's, you know what, I'm tired of doing this chore around the house. I wish you would help me. You can't come at it with a hostile energy, because you're going to get a hostile response. So how would you want to be spoken to? You just always have to kind of go back to that. Like, listen, I would really appreciate a little help. I'm struggling right now. Do you mind, like, helping here? It's the way you approach your conversations, but not feeling afraid to have the conversation. Because if you don't have the conversation, you start to resent.
Absolutely. I love that. And then you mentioned your son a second ago. How do you guys balance being parents and also, you know, so infiltrated into such a demanding career?
For so long, you know, I'm going to be honest, what it was, we had the most amazing nanny ever. Melissa, since he was 6 months old, big part of our family.
Amazing.
And sadly, during pandemic, we moved to Vegas, and we had to let her go, and she still needed to work and make money and live, of course. And we weren't working for, you know, we didn't work that whole year. Even when jobs were coming around, we just kind of took off and said we're going to hang out with our son. And so we haven't really picked back up. We have, you know, somebody that babysits them and watches them, but now we're just taking turns. I think it's one of those things that you can't plan. You just do as it comes.
Yeah.
And hopefully it all works out. You know, now we live in Vegas. We have family here, my brother, my sister, and my dad. And so that's kind of nice when you have family around. But in LA, we never had any family. It was just us and an amazing nanny. But yeah, we still try to make every second that we have free. Like when people say, hey, let's go out for a drink, or let's go to a movie, or hey, do you want to go to this concert? Usually we can't, because those hours are, one of us goes to watch our son.
Yeah. You gotta, like,
because while
create
we're
that.
working, I have to let the other person off. I just can't work all 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and then say, also, could you watch them all night while I go and go to some concert? And then now they're working, you know,
I think
80 hours a week.
we had our son. I was almost 40. We had done our share of just me and him time and grinding and working around the clock because we had no one to answer to other than ourselves, and we loved the work. So that's what we did. We're like, okay, we'll wake up, we'll do this again every single day. And then we realized, okay, we're ready to start a family. And that changes everything. Your priorities shift. You have to balance your time a little bit differently. And you want to, like, you feel so guilty when you can't be present, and you just start making different choices. But I don't have any regrets because I feel like I did so much of what I wanted to before he came into our lives. You know, I don't need, of course, I love to hang out with my friends, but I don't need a Friday night out. I don't need just a girl night once a week. I don't need, like, all I need is him, you know?
Yeah,
so that fills me when I'm not working, and I'm satisfied.
And I've even seen, like, I think, like, a video of you guys with him at rehearsal, and I feel like he was, like, doing the warm-up routine for the dancers or something. So you guys had even, like, involved him into your world rather than making it, this is like home world, this is work world. It's like you've also made an in-between space where the two can, like, work together. And I think that's so cool.
For years, he was on every set we were on. I carried him on my chest. Everybody at every TV show that we were on or tour, everybody knows he was always with us. There was never a chance that he wasn't going to be with us, and we always were, you know. And the good thing is, there was never a time where somebody said, "Hey, you can't bring your kid here."
Yeah.
Everybody was like, he was kind of like a set baby. He just grew up there.
Yeah. But then they start school, and you can't do that anymore.
No.
And you can't. And so that's what changed, because it's like, well, now he has activities after, like, he's busy from 8 o'clock in the morning to like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I can't even take him away with me if I'm traveling, like, on something anymore. So that has changed, and that makes you make choices. Like, you know, there was a project that we just interviewed for, and it was like a film, and would shoot in India for so many weeks. And I was like, as much as I'd love to do the project, like, it's just not right fit for our family right now. I don't want to be gone that long.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've kept you guys for an entire hour, but before I let you go, is there anything that you're, like, really excited about that you want to talk about? By the way, I wanted to mention, I forgot earlier, I know you guys have a jewelry line that you just started. So congratulations on that. So if you want to talk about that or any other things that you guys are just excited about or working on.
I mean, that is kind of our newest adventure that is so outside of, I guess it isn't, because we created, like, creative directed, you know, the look of the line, but something so new and fun. You know, I partnered with Rhythm Jewelry over COVID, and we had so much downtime, and it was fun to play in that space. And I'm like, I'm wearing the necklace now, and it really speaks to, I don't know, we really tried to make sure that it spoke to artistry and individuality. So if you look at the line, there's different ways you can rock it to feel unique to you. You can thread the necklace through different holes and create a pattern in it that's unique to you or how you feel for the day. You can dress it up or you can dress it down. It can, you know, so we wanted that so it reflects who we are as artists. Every day we feel a different way, or we want to express a different emotion. Why not have jewelry that sort of can fall in line with that?
So cool. I love that. You guys are just so creative, and I love that you seem to just never put limits on yourself.
No.
Of like, nope, this is what we do. It's like, well, then why can't we do this as well? Like, why can't we have a merch line or a jewelry line? And you know, oh, why can't we do ballroom? We can. And I think there's a lot to be taken away from that. It's just like, you went out there, you got it, and you continue to do it every day. And I just look up to you guys so much. And someday we're gonna do a show together. I just know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's put it out in the universe, girl.
Let's put it out there.
Let's do it. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. And you know, happy holidays to you guys and to everyone listening. And thanks everyone for hanging out in the room with us today.
Okay. Bye, Lindsay. Thank you.
Right. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.